As the old saying goes, it's better late than never. We're 8 months late in sharing this behind the scenes episode from when we invited Daniel Hakikaju to Tampa, Florida in order to interview him for a podcast. Now, this took place last Ramadan, so we were fasting during the day. At night, I introduced him to some friends where we broke our fast together and of course prayed. Now, you've probably already seen the publicly posted podcast episode, but what you haven't seen are the behind the scenes discussions that took place in our studio where we exchanged ideas and talked about politics in America concerning the Muslim American community. It was an excellent discussion. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy this behind the scenes episode with Daniel Hakikaju.
Years, like you have these Muslim organizations spending years and millions of dollars on campaigning because the mentality has been that, oh, if we just do what Jews do and we have a lobby, like they have an Israeli lobby, let's have a Palestinian lobby, let's have like representation, like get some Muslims in congressional seats and whatever. Well, what has been the result? Like this is the worst massacre in the history of like that I've been alive.
In all fairness though, I don't think our community has really effectively built capacity. We've never truly had organized systematic programs that identify sincere leaders to run for political office, assesses their understanding of, Islam and their intentions. And we've never really, asked our community to sign a social contract, people or candidates from our community to sign social contracts prohibiting them from taking money from AIPAC or these other corrupt political action committees. And we've never really trained them properly either, in my opinion, because we've been there has been this self-serving kind of mentality in our community as well. We haven't really been the best at unity. We haven't really been the best and supporters of one another.
What moves the needle is money, and the Muslim community just does not have the money to compete with Jews. That's the thing. Like if we have the best trained, most righteous Muslims going and being on the ballot and the Muslims unify, like let's just all get together and vote on these politicians going into Congress, it won't matter because guess what? Who's going to give the $1 billion to the DNC? Who's going to support Israel? Who's going to give, these $10 million donations? Like, I'm sure there are a few Muslim multimillionaires who could donate at that level, but it's just a fraction. It's like a drop in the ocean compared to what these Zionists are paying. And that's what buys the votes or buys the support.
Yeah,
is the money.
Do you know, I saw a report, the average contribution from the Israeli lobby, I believe is like it's like $25,000 per representative, right, on both sides of the aisle, and it's more than that for the Senate. So if you really add it all up, it's not that much. I think on an annual basis they're spending something to the effect of like 60 million. I think this past cycle, because of the genocide, they up-leveled it to 100 million. So, but those numbers are very, I think, attainable for our community. We earn on average, I think 20% more than other Americans. And there is money in the community. I just think that our money has been fragmented. We don't have a central point of resource allocation.
Did you mean 100 million a year or?
Yeah, annually. And we have billionaires in our community. I know them, some of them personally. I mean, there's true money in our community. So
it's still not really enough because the influence that Zionists have is not just like AIPAC donations or like political lobby donations.
It's the boardrooms
of these multinational corporations. Like if the ADL gives a call to McDonald's and says like, hey, you're running ads on Twitter, Elon Musk is allowing people to criticize Jews and Israel, like that's the kind of wealth that Muslims don't have to be able to make that call. But
that's a fair point.
I don't know. I wish there were. But I mean, ultimately, it's in the hands of Allah. And I mean, the thing is that this idea of a rules-based order, that if we just play the game and we can rely on things to be fair. We can rely on things to be like equal opportunity. Like that's the promise, the American dream that we've been given, but it's a lie. Like this is what I think a lot of Muslims around the world have realized. They're like, okay, this whole situation with Palestine is the end of the rules-based order. They've come to that conclusion. American Muslims, we're still trying to realize that, okay, yeah, this kind of promise that we've been given, oh, have a seat at the table, you're one of us, like that's actually not the case. It's like you're a token, like come sit at the table so we can tell ourselves as white or Zionist that, oh, see, we include everyone, we're so fair and just. But it's just a delusion. Yeah, it's just symbolism, exactly. So
Oh, it's fair. There's something that I think we have. One, we have Allah. We have the promise of Allah. We have tawakkul. Our iman, I think, is improving over time as a collective. Inshallah it is. Allah knows best. But I also believe that we have the truth on our side. So they have to work exponentially harder in order to defeat us, because it's all falsehoods, right? It's all deception and atrocity propaganda. Whereas with us, I mean, you can't deny the oppressive conditions that the Palestinians are going through, that the Ummah is going through, Kashmir, or wherever else in the world, right? So I think,
you're absolutely right.
yeah, I think we'll be able to kind of close the gap, even if we're not at the same level in terms of resourcefulness, etc. We'll be able to close the gap, inshallah. It might take a couple of lifetimes. It may not happen in our lifetime, but we plant the seeds and we put in the effort. We ask Allah to do the rest,
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, like the Muslims going against the Persian Empire. Persian Empire was way more wealthy and had more resources in terms of manpower, wealth than the Muslims did, but they lost.
Right.
They lost big time. Same with the Romans and the Byzantines, though.
Yeah. I think sometimes people in our community, unfortunately, they take that as like cynicism. I think you're just speaking to the reality of like the current state, right? But I think sometimes they use that as an excuse not to take action or not to do their part. And I think that there's a fine line. We have to be careful not to discourage anybody as well. But I don't think that's what you're doing. I think that's something that a lot of Muslims in their community use as a crutch to lean into their privilege over their purpose, or figure out a way to avoid putting their privilege into purpose, right?
Yeah, I want the Muslim community to be motivated and energized to act, but in an effective way. Laying my cards on the table, I don't think a lot of putting money into specific politicians to run, I don't think that's going to really move the needle. I think that's a waste of Muslim resources.
Interesting.
In the same way that I think it's a waste of Muslim resources to just keep building bigger and bigger masajid. That's an issue in Houston. Like, there's just so much money that's being poured into building bigger buildings. Like, why? That money can, be used for media operations. Why do we not have like a fully fledged media operation, like an organization like this, or that's fully funded and a professional studio with staff and like fully, professional everything. The fact that that doesn't really exist is kind of a shame. It's a big shame for the community. Like, why can't we get our act together to even produce something like that?
Yeah.
Or a think tank, like an actual Muslim think tank. Like, sometimes I feel that Muslims don't even know what a think tank is. Like, I was talking to some brothers and they were just complaining that, man, look at what's going on in Palestine, or even look at just the recent 5 years and how the populations are manipulated, blah, blah, blah. It seems like these guys are geniuses. Like, these Zionists, they're geniuses and we just can't compete. I'm like, no, it's not like natural given ability. Like, they are putting a lot of money into institutions that are for the purpose of research and strategy and media, and that is like the meeting of the minds that they collectively are able to, go through these kinds of campaigns, manipulate populations, manipulate media, like put out books, put out articles that change public opinion. Where's the Muslim equivalent to that?
And social engineering, for sure.
Yeah, social engineering on a micro or macro scale. But then that kind of money that goes into a local masjid, like $7 million, like and there's a community near where I live where they have like a very nice masjid building, and they have a lot of land. Their property is like, it's a big lot, and they want to raise 7 million to build like a bigger building, like on the same plot of land. Like, why are you? And it's not like the masjid is like overflowing with people. Okay, Friday prayers, you have like some rows that will have to be outside, but it's covered, and like at most you'll be out there for 30 minutes, like listening to khutbah. Even not even 30 minutes, because only if you're like 10 minutes late will you have to sit in those rows.
Right.
But for just that, you're spending $7 million. Like, it just makes absolutely no sense for a building that, by the way, is going to be empty for most of the week, like 95% of the week. And even in Ramadan, like, okay, it's like at capacity, basically. It's not even overflow, but you're still dedicating this much money. It's just a waste of resources.
Yeah.
And I don't see, like, this is my frustration with the Muslim community in America, is that there's no strategic thinking. There's just this idea that, oh, the masjid is full, that means we're good, like we're doing a good job. And no, it's because of immigration. Like, there's just a lot of first generation, they're coming to the country and they need a place to pray. But where there are no kids coming to the masjid to pray, like Friday prayers, they're all in school, and there's no sense that, oh, is this a good situation? Like, kids aren't coming for Friday prayers, like they're past puberty, they should come. Are they praying at school? A lot of them are not. So isn't that going to affect like the religious commitment of the next generation? So I don't see any kind of long-term vision from a lot of these big masajid.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting point. I think, though, there's like this triad of change, right? You know, you mentioned it's pointless to put the money in politics. I think we can walk and chew gum at the same time. Maybe I think what you're saying is there's a disparity of resources. We're putting all of our money into politics, whereas programmatically we should develop, you know, this media element.
I think politics are good. We need to be in politics. Like, having a think tank is politics.
I see what you're saying.
Electoral politics.
I see.
Like, oh, I'm a candidate running for the state legislature. Donate your zakat to me. Like, that's what I think is a waste. Because if you look at every single, almost, I tried to do an analysis and I just didn't have the time to complete it. Like, there were in 2022, there were a lot of Muslim candidates, particularly in state legislatures. I don't know about Florida, but like Georgia, Virginia, etc. There are Muslims going for the state's Senate or state Congress. And if you look at their platforms, like you go to their website, it's like Muslim woman in hijab, or she's not wearing hijab, but she's like openly. It's all of them are the same. They have like 3 issues: education, healthcare, and LGBT rights.
Oh, wow.
Those 3. And then reproductive falls under healthcare.
Sure.
So like, if you're going to be a Muslim candidate,
Right.
Usually if you represent the community should be a part of your platform explicitly. Like, we need to, you know, help Muslim causes. Like, how about Palestine?
I see what you're saying.
Explicitly being on the platform, or a plank on the but it's not there at all.
Right.
Bold. It's kind of like our school, like our Islamic schools mirror the curriculum of the public schools. So, I know what I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I think at a foundational level, what you're talking about is a set a unified strategy that the community can get behind. And then let's get the right candidates and potentially support them after we kind of set the stage, so to speak, for what our community stands for.
Yeah, that'd be a start.
Yeah.
We were, like when Ilhan and them were elected in 2018, there's like a hope amongst Muslims. And obvious, I remember you criticizing during that time, and that was when very few people were, but you did. And all the criticisms were valid. And then years now later, they're exposed. And yeah, we did. Yeah, a lot of us got duped by their promises, or that they were going to take action. They didn't. And just the fact that they didn't align themselves with Islam as well, we can't associate with that, right? We can't say, okay,
like I'm not expecting this like someone going into Congress and being like a sheikh and like the most pious person. Like that's not my expectation.
That's all.
That's too high of a bar.
Some level of,
Like, but yeah, some level. So what does it matter? Showing respect like to Islam. Like don't in Ramadan like go to a pride march. Like how about that? Or like don't like you look at the platform. I go to your.
was that during Ramadan?
I'm sure that between Keith Ellison and there was one. I can't remember. Yeah, LGBT star.
I don't know.
But the thing is that you go to their platform on their website, and that's like for Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, the first part of their website is LGBT. So like if I were a black man and there is a black man who's running for Congress and he's saying he's representing me, then when I go to his platform, I should see, African American issues at the top of the list, right? Or at least on the list. With someone like Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib, it's not even on the list. Like we're just supposed to assume that, oh, they call themselves Muslim and they come to like a care banquet, therefore they're going to represent our causes, but they're not brave enough or principled enough to actually put it in writing. That's not enough. That's very disappointing, and it was very clear from the beginning that those particular people were just playing the Muslim community.
If you liked this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. Also, if you'd like to support what we do, please consider becoming a paid subscriber on our website, where we post exclusive documentaries, podcasts, and videos just like this one about geopolitics, current events, and history. We built this website because of continued censorship of our videos, so please do consider becoming a member. Until next time.